In a personal press conference on Thursday, April 17, the concerned Mokpa senior citizen of Kogi State voiced their deep concern regarding the escalating chieftaincy dispute following the controversial selection of Chief Muiwa as the Elulu of Mokpa. This decision has ignited a firestorm of legal challenges, allegations of judicial interference, intimidation, and serious accusation of partisan politics against the tradition and custom of Mopa community involving both local and state government officials. Speaking on behalf of concerned Mokpa senior citizen Elder Ruben Taiwo Famodele, a trustee member of the group, did not hold back in his criticism of Mokpa Traditional Council putting the cart before the horse. He condemned the method of picking Chief Ibeon, labeling the selection process as a kangaroo screening exercise that bluntly ignores established guidelines and the traditional rotational leadership system that has long been a cornerstone of Mokpa's governance.
In respect of the Elulu chieftaincy title, it will be recalled that following the passing away of Oba Julius Doledo in 2023, a section of the Mopa Traditional Council (MTC) met and quickly organized a kangaroo screening exercise under a very dubious and symbolic arrangement, which led to the so-called selection of Chief Muiwa as the new Elulu of Mopa, without due regard to the guidelines set by itself and without any modicum of respect for the traditional rotational arrangement. This system has been in existence for almost 2 centuries and has engendered peace and systematic communal coexistence. Permit me to state that Mopa has 4 ruling houses, namely Ajeri, Aisa, in Odole community, while the other 2 are Patia and Ilegemo in Iloke community. Chief Muiwa is not from any of these ruling houses mentioned. The first 3 have had their turns, remaining Patia ruling house, expectedly and in line with the mode of selection of the Elulu of Mopa. It was expected that the MTC would have beckoned on the Patia ruling house to bring forth candidates Oyi for the consideration and ratification of the MTC, which was the case in previous exercises. But the reverse was the case. All they did was to hurriedly put up a fraudulently ill-crafted report and got the security agencies, including the chairman of Mopamuro local government, to endorse it, thereby giving the impression that the MTC follow the due process. Consequent on this, the local community decided to approach the court to seek redress, which is their constitutional right under the law. The matter was assigned to a high court in Kotonkarfe in 2024. Unfortunately, due to several unspeakable undercurrents and judicial blackmail, the judge rescued himself from the matter and returned the case file to the Kogi State Chief Judge for reassignment. We should not fail to mention that in the course of the proceedings of the court, the learned counsel to Chief Muiwa made a false allegation against the judge that he was a former classmate of the learned counsel to the claimant, knowing fully well that this was not true. This lie from the pit of hell was part of their grand scheme to get the matter out of the hands of the judge, who was said to be a man of integrity and a reputation for impartial judgment. This indeed earned him a query from the chief judge. The allegation was thoroughly investigated and found to be false, a situation that led to the return of the case file to the judge in Kotonkarfe to continue with the trial. As soon as the case file was returned for the court proceeding to continue, the learned counsel to the defendant told the judge that the court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the case. This led to another long adjournment. Finally, the court in its ruling said it had jurisdiction to hear the matter, but rather than continue with it, surprisingly rescued himself and returned the case file to the state chief judge for reassignment. Unknown to the judge in Kotonkarfe, Chief Muyiwa Ibehun had boasted openly that the court in Kotonkarfe will never hear the matter again. In addition, his surrogates expressed this unabashedly on Mopa social media platforms. It is rather unfortunate that the judge fell for debate. It is very important at this juncture to add that while the matter was going on in Kotonkarfe, Chief Ibehun and his cohorts paid a courtesy visit to the Ohimege of Kotonkarfe, ostensibly to solicit for his assistance in mounting pressure on the judge. As if this was not enough, he repeated the same courtesy call on Negeri of Lokoja for the same purpose. It was therefore not surprising that the judge in the High Court Kotonkarfe had to return the case to the chief judge. Now that the case file has been reassigned to the High Court judge in Kaba, it is interesting to note that Chief Ibehun has repeatedly paid visit to the Obaru of Kaba with an alarming frequency and even represented himself in official capacity in some occasions, ostensibly to employ the Kotonkarfe magic in the High Court of Kaba. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, another intriguing and ludicrous observation is in this whole Elulu chieftaincy tussle is the way and manner some Kogi state government officials, particularly of open extractions, have been using their respective offices to promote and launder the image of Chief Muyiwa Ibehun at the slightest opportunity by inviting him to state functions in a questionable official capacity when they are fully aware that the matter is in court. For instance, the special advisor on security to the Kogi State Governor, Commander Jerry Omodara, deliberately invited Chief Ibehun to a security meeting where he addressed him as the Elulu of Mapaland and the paramount king of Mapa, Muro local government area. Another example is that of the secretary to the government, Mrs. Folashade Arike Ayoade, who in the same vein paid an official visit to Muyiwa in Mapa, whereby he promised to confer her the chieftaincy title of the Yoruba of Mapaland, a title already conferred on a prominent living Mapa indigene by the late Elulu. The invitation card of the conferment ceremony is already flying around. At a time like this, where the legitimacy of the conferrer is a subject of litigation, one expects Mrs. Folashade Ayoade to know that the title to be given to her was nothing but a bribe assigned to elicit support to the conferrer. We urge His Excellency Alhaji Usman Ododo, the Kogi State Governor, to halt the conferment already slated for 17th of May 2025 to mark the 1 year of the legal reign of Chief Muyiwa Ibehun. This is in the spirit of neutrality and impartiality, as well as the respect for the rule of law. Further to the above, we must not fail to mention the despicable roles played by Mr. Paul Enimola, and elsewhere Director of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, now Permanent Secretary of the same ministry. who employed his official position to suppress all petitions and court orders sent to the office of the Commissioner of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs to help his friends. Perhaps if Mr. Paul Enimola had allowed the Honorable Commissioner to see all the correspondences this case in dispute and had not allowed his pecuniary interest to blind his official judgment, the story of the Elulu Stool chieftaincy title may not have taken the message dimension as it is today. Equally worth of mention is the unholy alliance of Mr. Wemi Jones and Chief Ibem. His several trips to Mopa to give the assurance of Kogi State government support are rather provocative and disappointing. All these surrogates of Chief Ibem serving in the government of Kogi State fail to understand that traditional matters are far from partisan political issues. They must learn how to distinguish between the two. Chief Muyiwa Ibem has on many occasions used their visit to intimidate our people that he has the absolute government support. Consequently, the covert and over support of Chief Muyiwa Ibem tend to portray to him as a government candidate without any respect for the court and the rights of the local people. It is common knowledge to any reasonable mind that when a matter is in court, all parties are expected to maintain the rest. This petition is based on a Court of Appeal ruling C. Doma versus Ogiri 1998, which summarized the Supreme Court decision in the case of registered trustees of the Apostolic Church versus Mrs. Emmanuel I. Olowoleni 1999, that once parties have turned their dispute over to the courts for determination, their right to restore to self-help ends. So it is not permissible for one of the parties to take any step during the pendency of the case, which may have the effect of fostering upon the court a situation of complete helplessness, on which may give the impression that the court is being used as a subterfuge to tie the hands of the other party, while the other parties helped himself extrajudicially. Both parties are expected to await the results of the litigation and the appropriate order of the court before acting. Further, the aiding and abetting of Chief Ibem by some of the Kogi State government officials of open extraction is not only a disrespect to the Kogi State judiciary, but an affront to the rule of law and a big slap on the esteemed institution of the judiciary, which represents God here on earth. These government officials have confused loyalty to a friend with respect for the traditions and culture of the people of Mopa. Tradition, by definition, is a way of life of giving collectivity by which they have resolved to order their existence. Rotational rulership between the four ruling houses in Mopa has been with us for about 2 centuries, cemented by a covenant with serious implications and severe repercussions for any breach. We, the concerned Mopa senior citizens, are people of conscience and honor who have refused to be compromised by a mess of pottage or any financial inducement, and are irrevocably concerned and committed to the peace and prosperity of our people, including the unborn generations. We must not fail to warn that the errors of today, if not corrected, are capable of generating negative, concentric, and reverberating consequences to the peaceful existence of Mopa land, long after we have all gone to the world beyond. the opportunistic motivation and desperation of Chief Muyiwa Ibem, who cannot speak Mapadali, is spoiled more by the rich mineral resources that abound in Mapaland. In conclusion, we appeal to the Chief Judge of Kogi State to put an eagle eye on the proceedings in the High Court in Kaba. As concerned citizens of Mapa, we will continue to monitor the court proceedings in Kaba to avoid a repeat of what happened in Kotokadfi Court. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we thank you for listening.
The concerned Mopa senior citizens are calling for transparency and adherence to tradition in the selection of their leaders, urging all parties involved to prioritize the community's unity and well-being. Tolulope Oludayo for News Portal Africa TV.